started. So, did everybody have a chance to smell one of the leaves? Okay. So what I ask everybody to do to just get started is just take a moment and just breathe in. Everybody probably had to drive down that curvy road. Everybody needs just a moment to kind of settle. If you feel like you want to stretch up, feel free to do that. Just kind of have a sense of moving up towards the trees. Our tallest one here is almost 300 feet tall. I understand that a drone went over a couple of years ago and figured out that it was over there by Fern Creek. And if you want to lean down, I can't do this real well, but if you want to lean, feel the idea that we have a boardwalk here because underneath are the roots of the trees. So today what I want to talk about for about 10 or 12 minutes is the idea of balance. I like to say that I come back here when I need to have balance again. When life just gets to be too much and you need to be able to be in a place where you can just breathe deeply and just feel a sense of relief. So what I learned recently from a chemist who came and told me that, he was very kind. He did tell me that I was full of baloney, and one of the things I was telling was not true. I'm a former language arts teacher. I was in over my head. So what he explained to me is the reason that breathing in this fresh air feels so good and actually makes us feel calm is because there's a much greater concentration of oxygen in a place like this. So as we breathe out, who remembers their high school biology? What are we exhaling? Excellent. Carbon dioxide. Okay. So the balance is such that there's much more oxygen than carbon dioxide. These trees actually absorb the carbon dioxide. So when we're in a place like this, we feel a sense of tranquility. So the most important thing, when we are walking is just to keep breathing. And this is some of the freshest air we're going to breathe. Now, as we head off towards the third bridge, has anybody gotten that far yet? To Cathedral Grove. Did anybody notice there's a little sign there that says, please enter quietly? It's the only place in the entire woods where people are asked to be quiet. And there's a reason for that. And you might have read the little placard. Do you remember what you saw?
We haven't been that way yet.
Oh, okay. So the message is pretty much for the woods and for us to take a moment. Right now we have little baby owls that are nesting there. We also have black-tailed deer that are wandering through looking for mates. So if we're too noisy, we're going to throw off the balance. So by being quiet, we can allow them to live naturally. And I've mentioned a couple times when I've given little talks, I've been doing this a few years, I actually had a pair of deer who had found each other, walk right in front of me, and just wander off. They were not at all intimidated by the fact that it was in the summer and there are a lot of people here. So it's like they felt comfortable. Right now we're giving owl walks at night. And you can actually get a little headlamp and you can check out the baby owls. So if we're too noisy and they're nesting, they're not going to be real happy when it's time to start fledging later in the afternoon. Around 4 or 5 o'clock, you might actually see the owls coming out. So the idea is that by being quiet, we allow them to have their natural habitat. And then for us, if we're quiet, we can hear birdsong, we can hear the rush of the water, we might actually hear the rustling of the deer. And so the idea is to find balance, we need to be quiet for a while. That's fabulous. So come back here and take a look at this tree behind me. Anybody want to guess how tall it is? This one right here, the pinch-out tree. Anybody want to take a guess? I mean, once it's taller than me, I have no idea. But this one's almost 200 feet tall. And the tallest tree here is probably another 100 feet taller. And the trees that's ever been found is twice this tall. So trees this tall are the tallest things in the world. And as I started to mention, the only way they can keep their balance, because they have very shallow roots, is to spread the roots outward. That's why we have the decking. Otherwise, we'd be stepping on their toes. So I like to think that these trees are a lot like people. When they need support, they reach out and they hold on to each other. It's actually been proven that through their roots they can communicate, and if it gets really windy, a tree up there might send a message down here. These roots can go out over 100 feet. Hold on tightly, it's getting breezy up here. Or another one can send a message saying we need more water. And they actually can communicate. You've heard of the World Wide Web? We like to say that's the Wood Wide Web. So the idea is that these trees are all connected. Notice you have family groupings of trees. And you had asked about the bumps on the trees. Those are called burls. It's almost like a bruise. If something should bump into you or you should bump into something, which happens more and more as I get older, what would happen to the trees, it forms like almost like a scar, scab. And then if that tree should fall down, it will break open and all the dormant seeds inside, if the ground is receptive, will be able to sprout. Okay? So the idea here also is that when I gave you one of those bay leaves, those bay laurel trees have to share this beautiful place with almost 13,000 redwood trees. And so in order to get to the sun, because they're not as tall, they will practically tip over and try to find the sunlight. So what I want to share with you is what the Coast Miwok people used to use them for. So if you didn't get a leaf, I'll pass these around to you. These bay laurel leaves smell wonderful. It's part of the reason it smells so good here. We'll just hand you the box. If you want to hand it to the next person, that'd be great. So the Coast Miwok people who lived here for thousands of years before the first settlers came used to use these in their bedding. It turns out that if you put a bay laurel leaf in your pantry, the bugs will stay away. And the Coast Miwok people knew that. They put it in their grass mats, and then the bugs found somewhere else to sleep. If perhaps they had a tummy ache, they could take that bay laurel leaf, put it in water, make bay laurel tea. And the reason they might get a tummy ache is, you look around you see all these little clover. Oh, thank you. Thank you. They're called redwood sorrel. They love to live here among the trees, but they prefer the shade. The bay laurel likes the sun, they like the shade. So, if the clouds part, these little leaves will close up like a little umbrella, and then as the clouds come over, then they open again. If you were to eat these, you might have a little tummy ache. This is called oxalis, and oxalic acid can give you a tummy ache. Then you just make some bay laurel tea. So there's the idea of balance. This is really good for you in terms of minerals. It would be like eating really jazzy salad. I've actually seen people try to harvest it, and we'd ask them please not to, but I understand it tastes pretty good. I'm not encouraging it, but anyway. These beautiful little leaves are shaped like little hearts, and there are 3 of them. 3 often gives you balance. So the Coast Miwok people also use them for medicine. If they had a really bad cough, they could grind them up, put a little oil in them, fix vapor rub. If you have a really bad headache, you could actually tape them, or I guess you could paste them with a little bit of oil on your forehead, aromatherapy. So the Coast Miwok people used a lot of the things we have here for balance. So now take a look at these gorgeous trees. Some of them 300, almost 300 feet tall, being held up by intertwining with each other. They actually have something in their bark that protects them from fire and protects them from insects and also protects them from diseases. And it's that particular thing that you'd also find. This is what makes it red. It starts with a T. You find this in red wine, in dark chocolate. You find it in tea and coffee. It's a little bit bitter. That's why the bugs don't like it. Do you know what it is? What starts with T? Tannin. Boy, you guys must have been great students. So tannin is the superpower for the trees. However, even though you may see trees that look like they're burned out, as long as their roots are growing and their canopy is growing, they will survive. And if you have a chance, go over to Bohemian Grove and stand in that tree. It's amazing that, over hundreds of years it continues to grow. As far as we know, probably 150 years ago we had a fire that came through here, and yet most of the trees survived. So in 1908, they were going to knock down all these trees. The Marin Water Company said, we want to create a reservoir. There had been a great earthquake and fire in 1906 in San Francisco, and the thought was, we need more water, and San Francisco needs these trees to rebuild. Can you imagine dragging these trees up that road that you came down? So at the last minute, the people who had saved this forest, this is an old world forest that's never been cut down, and you may know this is the town of Mill Valley. It was all about cutting down the trees, using them for homes and for, I guess you could say that they were used also to make the railroads. At some point, the decision was made to protect these trees so that we would have them to enjoy fresh air. The word got to the president that if he could put into effect making this a monument, something that's protected through the Antiquities Act, then we would have this for years to come. Does anybody know who the president was in 1908?
Teddy.
It was Roosevelt, yes, Teddy Roosevelt. And so Teddy Roosevelt signed into law this would become a monument. He was going to name it after Mr. Kent, who had first protected these woods with his wife. There's a Kent field north of here, named after Mr. Kent, and he said, no, please name it after John Muir, who had passed away. He had created the first national park. It's not Yosemite, it's the other one that starts with Y, which is Yellowstone, right? So they said, we're going to name it after him, Muir Woods Monument. So does anybody know the difference between a monument and a national park?
Congress and the president.
Yes, the president can create a monument. Who's the only one that can create a national park? Congress. Whoa, they're smart people. Okay. So if we wanted to make this into a national park, a local congressman would have to suggest that, and then if it was a park, then it would be protected. But as a monument, if the president can sign it into law, a president can sign it out of law. So one of the jokes is that we need to keep our heads down. So how do you keep 300-foot trees from being noticed? But as long as the woods are protected, they will continue to be here for maybe another 800 years. Most of these trees are in the 500 to 800 year range, and it's believed that they can continue to grow for 2,000 years or more. So there were trees like this in the time of the dinosaurs, and you being here helps to protect them. We like to say that it's your visit, your voice, and your vote that protect these trees. A man named Henry David Thoreau back in the 1800s said, "I took a walk in the woods and I came out feeling taller than the trees." So the hope is that when you breathe in this fresh air today and you feel a sense of balance, that you will allow yourself to have a bit of a spa day, which is take good care of yourself. And in the words of the Coast Miwok people, who are now actually helping to protect many of these forests. For a while, there were very few people who had any power, I should say, or any agency to say to the people of the parks, we can help you to manage this trees. In the words of the Coast Miwok people who are now working with the national park, Isor Sekinan, which means my heart sees your heart. And I thank you so much for being here today, because you make a difference.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. And as a former 7th grade teacher, I'm thrilled that you all stayed. So thank you for that.
I have
Thank you
one
for all your
question.
great answers.
Is that a nest?
If it is, it's an abandoned nest.
Abandoned.
Yes, it's all open at one time. It might have been